Hello, good morning everyone. Welcome to your morning session. My name is Gil, and if you can see the screen clearly and hear the audio as well, please go ahead and confirm in the GoToWebinar control panel. Big good morning to you guys. We already have some questions lined up here from the investors that we handle their marketing, whether it's text, email, direct mail, or basic cold calling. Right? Some of you guys have brought us on board to pre-screen your leads on Craigslist, or you are sending a good amount of direct mail on a monthly basis and could definitely use some assistance staying on top of all of those follow-ups. We do respond to these sellers within about 12 to 24 hours at most, and we'll make the follow-up phone calls to them as well. That way, we can capture their information, find out what their situation is. By the time you talk to them, ideally, you get a kind of like an idea of what type of strategy or solutions to offer the seller. We will start with a cash offer and make some adjustments moving forward. Maybe they would be more open to renting the house first before selling it. So big good morning, everyone. If you have any urgent questions, feedback, or clarifications, go ahead and enter it right now in the GoToWebinar control panel. Let me touch base with Bill. If you guys are ready to go today, you're just here to take some notes for the session. Go ahead and type in business as usual. Bill, how are things going on your end?
Hey there, Gil. How you doing, man?
Doing good, doing good. We got some questions already lined up, ready to get rocking and rolling this morning. Anything urgent from you and some of the investors that you're working with? Any questions or updates you wanted to address or put out there to the group?
Um, no, we're just, we've got some good leads for one of the students that I'm working with. We made about 10 phone calls yesterday and got 3 potential deals. So what we're doing is we're sending out 3 letter of intents today.
Okay.
And also 1 letter of intent to a realtor. She seemed to be real receptive. She had the property listed for both leasing and for sale. So she's, trying to sell it either way. And so we're going to send her a letter of intent, see if we can put something together there. And then we already have 1 letter of intent that we followed up on yesterday, with a guy that's trying to help a friend out that lives out of state on a big property that's been sitting vacant for a while.
Ooh.
So we got a lot of activity going on, and it's just a matter of getting somebody to, sign on the dotted line so that we can get rolling on our marketing.
Very nice, very nice, very nice. And then this is all within 24 hours, Bill?
Yeah. The 3 of them are. One is from about 3 or 4 days ago. We were just following up. We sent the letter of intent. We hadn't heard from the guy, so we followed up with him and, left a message for him yesterday. We talked to him, but he wasn't available, so we left him a message to let him know that, the letter of intent was in his email box. It's one of those deals where, the guy's real busy. He's got his own business, and he's doing a favor for a friend that lives out of state. So obviously, it's not his top priority in his life. So, this might be a great opportunity for him to kind of dump the thing in our lap, because I don't think he really wants to deal with it. He's just too busy in his business, and he doesn't have time to deal with this. So all he's basically doing is has an ad on Craigslist, and he's just taking phone calls.
Very nice, interesting stuff, and I mean, not bad for 10 calls, 3 good leads. Letters of intent already going out, offers being sent out, or marketing agreements. Tomato, call it what you want, right? But that's the nice action. I mean, that is phenomenal. Steve, I'll do a mic test for me. How's my audio coming out? Because I don't have any headsets, so I'm using the mic and speakers. I don't know if that's creating an echo.
No echo.
Nice. Should get for put in. I got a new little mic here that I'm tinkering around with. How are the group calls going? You guys doing okay on leads, follow-ups? What's the action going on the group coaching sessions?
Yeah, all good there. I had some trouble yesterday running GoToWebinar and Skype on Starbucks internet, but back to normal today. We
Yeah.
did. We actually, Bill stopped by yesterday and made some calls with me. So that was fun.
Nice.
Hey,
Yeah,
just
so
spilled his latte on his computer.
yeah, that did slow down a little bit.
It's when I used to work out of a Starbucks myself. They were, I like to brag. I have 3,000 office locations thanks to Starbucks. It's just all here in California, and they will ask you. They'll ask you questions like, "Are you calling out of a call center?" And so, just a heads up for those of you that are using Starbucks, just let the seller know I'm at a Starbucks right now. I can, I've limited signal or the audio's kind of glitchy. I don't want to lose you once the blender turns on, Mr. and Miss Seller. Do you mind if I take down your information just in case we get disconnected, right?
Yeah, I love the background noise. Same thing with parents that are doing this from home too. I mean, I hear people get so concerned about like the kids making noise in the background, but it's like it proves that you're not in a call center.
Yeah.
Like it makes it more real. It's a good thing.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of people are hesitant to, they want to make it sound like they're big business. They got the fancy office and stuff. I mean, that's not what your seller's looking for. Your motivated sellers are looking for a shoulder to cry on, somebody that can move quickly and be a little bit patient, right? Because they got some stories to tell you. So definitely take that into account. I mean, I started out of a Starbucks when I first got started. And so, okay, so you guys are good on leads. I know we just updated Podio with some new workflows. We got some new virtual assistants plugged in, so looks like that process is taken care of. We don't need to update or revisit that.
No. I mean, we'll just check on it, make sure that it's working properly.
Okay.
We should be able to check on that based on the end of day reports. We should see a difference.
Okay. So if you need the virtual assistants to send you an email, completed task, or I mean Podio, right? It's all going to be on Podio, but definitely check to make sure that they're getting the work done in the way you need it. Also, if we can throw in some of those other leads like the local wholesalers, so we can get dialed into the local action and see if we can source some deals that way. Because I got private money banging on my door, cracking the whip here.
Okay, I might call some of those today. I'm thinking I got caught up on everything before the direct mail hits. So until the direct mail hits, I got a little bit of slack here.
Okay, so that's good to know. Schedule-wise, you have a Southern California territory direct mail drop, which is going to be by Friday.
Dropped yesterday?
It's supposed to be picked up tomorrow from the local printers.
Oh, when are the... Okay, I mean, there's really only one date that I care about, right? When are the calls going to start coming in?
Let's say Monday, right? Weekend, Monday.
Oh, okay. That's good. So I'll do the wholesalers then. I mean, last time I called them for like an hour, got really good results on that. I got like 4, one-man operation wholesalers that were really excited about setting a deal, so.
Excellent. Yeah, that'd be great. So let's rock out and get some more of those leads sent in. We are in, the process of redoing and relaunching and moving some pieces across the board. So next 30 days are going to be very interesting. Your new market launch, which our goal in that market is to pull out at least $100,000 in wholesaling fees. That drops on the 11th of June, right? So
Okay.
take that
We
into
actually
account.
got a contract in on Sunday from that market, too.
Very nice. All right, cool. So, guys, if you need leads, if you are just getting started out and you are in the group coaching program, it's $1 a day, actually much less. It's $25 a month. Please take advantage of these group coaching calls with Steve so you can listen in on how we work and talk to our sellers. That was one of the biggest requests at the workshop. What do we say with these homeowners? How do we get them to sign on the contract? Or to jump at the opportunity to do business with us on the first call. And I'm like, that's like trying to marry somebody on the first date. You know what I mean? You gotta take them out a little bit, go on a few mini dates, right, before you kick it up a notch and bust out the ring. Not saying it's not impossible to find first love on your first date, but it's pretty rare. You know what I mean? And so instead of racking your brains, trying to force their hand, ask the questions that we do. I have 4 questions that I ask a homeowner, and then I'll move it forward in my sales funnel. It keeps the stress relatively low. I don't feel like I'm a gladiator that's just emerged from the Colosseum with blood dripping from my sword, after talking to homeowners. And sometimes it can very well feel that way. It's cool at first, and then after about 3 months, you realize we got to find a better way to do business because it gets a little bit tiring, and it doesn't have to be that stressful. We're going to have Henry Serrano doing a workshop in Northern California on talking to homeowners, so additional training there for you guys. It's going to be sometime in late June. Take note of August 8th through 10. We will having an event in Orlando, Florida, August 8th through 10. We can't release details yet, but it will be an excellent workshop for anybody that is looking to maximize the way they do business from a marketing standpoint, from the way your business and entities are structured and set up. And that's as much as I can say for now. August 8th through 10, it will be in Orlando, Florida. I, along with my team and network of virtual wholesalers, are going out to that event. We're all going to get trained for that particular series. Okay, so welcome. I see some new faces. Hey, Mr. Barcel, glad to see you on the line here. Steve will actually be contacting you on some of those direct mail campaigns we are looking to send out. Definitely looking forward to working with you in your territories. Thank you for calling earlier. Looks like we got a Mr. Michael Manuel. Liz, good to see you. Have you had a chance to talk to Steve? I know he tried to contact you yesterday. Gillo, glad to see you back on the session, right? DCP Investments, hello. Awesome. So let's jump right into some of these questions that are popping up here, Bill, from the group. Some of these were emailed in. Some of them were posted in one of our forums. Others had come in via text. And some I have sourced through my one-on-one consultations, all right? So first question. I've been outbid twice in the last 2 weeks and just got an already sold because it took me a day too long to get back to him. It feels like sellers are wanting significantly more and buyers are willing to pay for it. I haven't noticed this before. Is this a sign of a market shift, or is it just a normal ebb and flow with the seasons, right? Write this down, greater fool theory, right? Sometimes there are other people out there that's willing to pay more simply because they can, or they just don't know any better. I'm looking at my roster of people who's on the session. All right, they're not on this session, so I can talk about this. They literally just wholesale deals off the MLS to international buyers. They're not doing any marketing. They're just taking it off the MLS, tacking on a wholesale fee, and selling it to those investor buyers. So, those buyers are willing to pay more if you can source, find them, and do business. The Canadians, the Chinese, and Singaporeans. Those are the top 3 that I've come across in the last month for these international buyers. Bill, what's your take on that? I mean, I think it's part both, right? Seasonal wise, and I was just talking to an investor earlier today. This is when everybody comes out of the woodwork, right? Everybody's interested in selling. Times are good. But markets also are shifting. So what's your take on that?
Well, yeah, this is a selling season, and, the majority of markets, in our market, it starts around April 1st or March 1st, depending on how bad the winter was. So that's, in the winter areas, that's when the market starts. And our market runs from generally April 1st until August 15th when school starts. And then there's a 30-day lag for all the procrastinators from August 15th to September 15th. So, not to say you can't do good business in that time period. It's just that that's when it's the most competitive. That's number one. Number two, you need to track your market. Find out what your local cash buyers are paying for properties. In our market, all the sales are recorded in the Sunday newspaper in an insert every Sunday. So, and it's categorized by zip code. So every Sunday you can look and find out who's buying what they're paying for it. If you have access to the MLS or access to foreclosure sale websites and stuff like that, you can track that as well. So you got to know what cash buyers and rehabbers are paying for properties in your market in your area of your market where you're buying properties doing wholesale deals. You need to keep your thumb on exactly what's going on. And, if in your market, for decent properties, cash investors are paying 85 cents on the dollar, then, you can adjust your offers accordingly. And also the other thing you can do is, if the seller wants a price that's a little bit high, but it's still within the realm of a reasonability, go with the number with the seller and but let them know that you think their number is a little bit high. You're going to run it by, your investor partners, and they're going to come take a look at it. And if they think the number is too high, you may come back to the seller and ask for a price reduction. If you get 3 of your cash buyers say that, 110 is too high for the property, they won't pay a dime more than 98.5, then you're going to have to go back to the seller and readjust the price and give them a reason why. Maybe the electrical's got a problem. Maybe you didn't know about the plumbing and the fact that it's all galvanized pipe and now that needs to be replaced. Whatever the reason happens to be, go back to the seller and see if you can get a price adjustment. But the bottom line is you got to know what's going on in your marketplace and be flexible and adjust your numbers accordingly, according to what your rehabbers and cash buyers are willing to pay. Back to you, Gil.
Nice, and now is the time to get your marketing out across the board, right?
Gil, you may be muted.
Thank you for the heads up there. Talking mime there. Somebody here typed in, Gil, what happened to the fisty cup? I like the fisty cup better. Yeah, I do too, but my girlfriend saw it and she thought it was pretty cool, and now she uses it and takes it to her preschool every day, and everybody loves the fisty cup. It's pretty cool. So now I have a nice little flower cup, which is okay too, right? And so no, marketing wise, June, July, August, that's like go time for us, right? That is when we make sure to send our marketing out. May, June, because that's our busiest time of year, deals wise, and marketing wise. It's like how squirrels kind of hoard all their little nuts and food for the winter, right? So they stack them all up. A lot of the deals will close in the last quarter come from leads that we've generated during this time of the year. And so we will use that to our advantage. And with Craigslist, that's why we don't really stress out about Craigslist a lot. We'll ask 4 key questions, have a decent conversation with the homeowner, all right, and just follow up with them. Okay, we just allow the marketplace and other agents and homeowners, just to get beat up and experience the reality of the territory and homeowners trampling through their property or nobody calling them back interested in the home. And that's, come the 3rd and 4th quarter, they're more open to doing business with us. And since we've got tenant buyers that we've put into our system during this time of the year, if they are still in the market 3 to 6 months down the line, we would have done 2 things. We would have established a good relationship with them. We would have already started on their applications to pre-screen them out to find out who's serious about doing business and who's not really interested in the program, who's just a tenant, right? And if they're just looking to rent, hey, that's okay too. If they're looking to move within the next 30 days, you can structure and flip the rental lease, right? Or assign it to a leasing agent and generate some wholesaling or assignment or marketing fees that way. Bill knows how to structure those types of deals. And I think it's worth bringing him on board a couple times, for your first couple of deals, just to make sure you're handling the paperwork correctly and it's being done in the right sequence and order, right? And monetize those leads, right? So maybe you can't wholesale a deal in the next 30 days, but if you made about $1,000, $2,000 in assignment fees, not having to do with a wholesale transaction or a traditional transaction, would that be of interest to you? Would that help the business, right? It's $1,000 still made at the end of the day, so still worth pursuing, right? Still worth pursuing. Awesome. So next question. Someone I read about claimed to be able to get owner financing with 0 down and 0% interest. I wonder is that possible? So censor that out. How is that possible? Any lines you use to pull this off? And I mean, I'll tell you the sleight of hand trick answer to that. I mean, with enough volume, high volume of marketing, you will come across homeowners that will pay you to take their property off their hands. Steve, how many contracts have you guys picked up in the last month where the homeowner's basically given their property over to you guys? Whether it's a big deal or small deal, just homeowners willing to give it up. Because I think you mentioned a couple, like one or two.
Hard to count. How many free properties I get on a monthly basis?
There's so many.
I've actually, I have the email thread open. I'm waiting. It looks like I'm going to get a notarized quitclaim deed by this time next week for a free property. And then somebody that I'm working with in the group coaching has the same deal. Well, both are just vacant, they're like war zone vacant properties, so it really depends on the area that you're marketing. If you're marketing Beverly Hills, good luck.
Right? So, again, you don't really have to, if you don't want to say anything and you want to come across these deals, send out a high volume of marketing, an obscene amount, right? And you will come across those particular scenarios and situations. Mr. McCartney, good to see you on the session. How are things going? Any content? I just want to follow up. I know you're looking to set up a local program there yourself, so I wanted to see how you were doing on that transition or that process. Bill, what are you saying to homeowners to kind of to test the waters to see if they'd even be interested in in an owner finance deal? Now, do you try to sell the homeowner on this on the first conversation, or do you set the conversation up in a certain way, right? Owner financing deals, this is something you guys are structuring, and that's how you're able to make 10 calls, get 3 leads, send out marketing agreements or contracts, right? Because you're looking at it from different angles and you're structuring some unique deals. Any transition lines you can recommend to test the waters for owner financing?
Well, first of all, it depends on what leads that you're marketing to. For instance, we're probably, we have to feel the call out. If you're calling on cold leads on Craigslist, you've got to kind of feel out the seller and kind of find out what their circumstances are and stuff like that, as to what kind of solutions you might want to present to them. For example, if you're talking about somebody that wants to downsize, like we talked to a lady the other day, she just wanted to downsize, her and her husband, and they weren't in any hurry. And, whether they sold next week, next year, didn't matter. So, we didn't even bring it up. But let's suppose that you're calling and talking to somebody that owns their property free and clear, and they're currently living in it, let's say. Well, what you're going to talk to them about is you're going to find out, a little bit about the property and really find out, well, gee, Mr. Seller, how come you're thinking about selling? Obviously it's been a great property for you. You lived there for several years. What's going on in your life that you're thinking about selling? And he says, well, the house is really a bit too much for me to maintain anymore. It's got a lot of problems. I really would prefer to, move to a warmer climate and be down in the area where my son lives in Florida. And, chances are that gentleman probably doesn't need the money from that house. And so I will say something like, well, gee, let me ask you a question, Mr. Seller. If we could come in there and get you happily moved and get you down to Florida so you could be with your family, and we were to come in and offer you a cash offer and we can close in as little as 1 week, what kind of price do you think we might be able to get? How much would you be willing to discount your price in order for us to pay all cash and take the property as is and get you moved quickly? And then we'll kind of, work that a little bit. And if he's not really willing to take much of a discount, and I'll go, well, let me ask you this, Mr. Seller. Suppose we were to do something like this. Would you be in a position to wait, for your equity if we could offer you a nice, monthly income from the property, that you would get every month and, help add to your retirement income and things like that. Would you be interested in getting a steady monthly income from the property every month, and wait for your equity for a while? And then if he's interested, he or she's going to ask, well, what does that mean? And we say, well, it's about, what we call owner financing. And, if you need a little money, we can get you some money now and we'll get you the rest later and pay you, a monthly income from the property. And you'll see if, he has an interest in that. And if not, we might try, well, I'm not willing to do that. I'd be willing to wait, maybe a year or two, but that's about it. And you say, well, let me ask you this, Mr. Seller, if we could get close to your asking price and give you a monthly income another way, what would you think about renting the property now and having a buyer buy it a little bit later, let's say in 2 or 3 years? How about something like that? So we'll go through the progression of tools and techniques and trying to get an idea of what the seller is willing to do and kind of what their temperature is and what their motivation factor is. And if they're willing to consider something like that, then we'll make arrangements to put something together. Maybe we'll do a letter of intent. Maybe we'll do a marketing agreement, with the rent-to-own technique. Or if they're local, we'll make, especially if they're older, we'll make arrangements to go meet with them personally, go belly to belly, have a cup of coffee at the kitchen table, take a peek at the property, and tell them exactly what we can do. Back to you.
Nice little preview there, and again, some transition lines that you can use to pique their interest. I like to take the least path of resistance when it comes to a homeowner. I mean, whatever they're looking to do, our goal is just to help them get there as quickly as possible. And if they want top dollar, worst case scenario, we'll refer it out to a realtor, make a marketing fee, a referral fee. If you're an agent, then you can easily just split the commission. Ultimately, at the end of the day, the fortune is in the follow-up. Having access to these training webinars will allow you to maximize the leads that you're coming across and monetize those. 10 calls, 3 good leads. How long did it take you to make these calls? I'd be curious to know, but with that type of conversion, and this isn't even a high quality lead source, right? Like direct mail or even a referral. So, awesome. Definitely take that into account. Owner financing. I won't try to get the seller to accept it right on the first end. I want to pique their interest, engage them, get them curious about how it works, and schedule an appointment to meet with them face-to-face afterwards, right? Maria says here, Bill's insights and wording is really great. Thank you, Bill, says Maria. Do appreciate the nice comments and feedback there. Question popped up. How do you get squatters out of the house? How do you get squatters out of the house? In some markets, it's just easier to get that done, right? Here in California, it can take a while. Standard eviction will run you about 30 days, right? When done right, and you can work with a vendor, it'll cost you anywhere from $500 to $1,000 if you go with a third-party eviction company, and that's all they do is evictions. If they contest it, then it can take 2 to 3 months for that process, right? And so that's our experience here in Southern California. It may happen to you in your local territory. If it's a smoking deal, then, work it, right? Move it forward somehow. If it's not a good lead or deal, then have a conversation. We'll help you analyze to determine if it's a real quality deal and if it's worth spending hours on, or if you just need to lower that one in priority, right? Now, Bill has had some pretty cool tips and strategies to this too. You might just want to go with like a cash for keys situation, right? If the tenants are fighting with the landlord and they are not family members, right? They're just third party. I have found it to be a little bit easier to have a decent, proper conversation with them and, introduce ourselves. Look, we are the new owners of the property, or we're purchasing this property, or we have some new owners coming out. I'm the rehabber. Either way, it doesn't matter, whatever backstory or situation you're in, just let them know that. But at the end of the day, we let them know that there are going to be new owners of the property. They are welcome to stay if they want to, and we can work out a fair rental amount with a lease in place, right? Make it official. Just start over clean, start over fresh, and if they like staying there, then we can make it happen, right? We just have to do things properly and formally. If they don't accept that, then maybe you can go with like a cash for keys type of situation. Offer them a little bit of money to move out and vacate, and the only time they get paid is when they leave, right? Otherwise, you've paid them and then they'll sit in the house. So that really doesn't accomplish much, and it's happened. I've come across those scenarios, situation, or stories out in the field, right? If they are family members, then that can be tricky. We are working on a deal right now. It's a rehab property where the tenants are a nephew of the new owners, right? And even though it explicitly says in the will who the house is going to go to, right, which is the brother of, because they're siblings. It's a brother, sister own the property, okay? Sister passes away, but she has a son. And it specifically says in the will who gets what and how this is going to go down. And the son still feels that despite what the will says, he can move in and live there rent-free. And he's been there for quite a while. So we've tried the cash for keys approach, or just have a decent conversation with the guy and not get caught up in the whole family drama. But we have now brought on board an eviction company to help us navigate and get that process taken care of, right? So even if you stack multiple leads or deals like that, again, it allows you to have a pipeline. It's not a money now, it's a money later situation and scenario, but it doesn't take up a lot of our time. We've outsourced it to a third-party vendor. The costs were covered by our private money partners. And so it definitely helps to have those access to private money or marketing partners who would be willing to help fund and cover some of these expenses to get you to that big payout and that big payday, right? So that's how we handle that particular scenario and situation. We got 2 more questions on here, so we'll try to get to it before we jump off of our session. I do see some new people jumping on, right? My first deal didn't close. Happens a lot, right? I mean, you don't marry the first person you date in life. My first deal didn't close. Attorney sent me an invoice for over $309 for his extensive services, in quotation marks. She had pulled a title search. Is this commonplace, an expensive business to get into if you can't close the deal? Now, I'm getting the I told you so from my wife, who thinks I've made a bad business move, right? Chalk it up to a learning experience, and some learning experience are more costlier than others. I mean, $309 to pull title search. I think if you had worked with a title person or specialist, they would have been able to get this out to you for free. But in this particular business, guys, there are smart ways to go about it if you need to bootstrap. There are consultation fees that you can pay if you don't want to give up majority of your profits, and if you're going to handle most of the work to get this deal done. So take a look at consultation fees. You can pay a portion down now. That way the person that you are consulting with or attempting to do business with can see and know that you are serious, especially if you've never done business with them before, right? There are wholesalers and investors that I can call, get their advice. They'll structure the deal for me, not expect anything in return, at least not right now. But they know we'll make good on it when we close the deal, send them a check, send them a referral fee, or send them some referrals for their line of work, whatever they specialize and do business in. So that is part of it, right? Whether or not it costs somebody $309 to do a title search, I don't know. It seems a little bit iffy for me since we do deals here in California and Los Angeles, and we have agents and title people that would offer these services at no cost money up front. Bill, what's your take on this one? On anybody, again, just comes down to shopping around, looking for good vendors. It sounds like this guy just Googled real estate attorney and talked to whoever they could there. It doesn't sound like this was a referral at all. But what's your take on that?
Well, here's most likely what happened. First of all, if you're in a state where attorneys do the closings, they're going to charge you money for any services that they provide, because what they have to do is they have to hire somebody outside or one of their people inside to actually physically go down to the clerk's office or recorder's office register of deeds, whatever it's called in your market, and they have to actually spend time and do their research. Where, a lot of title companies, because they're larger operations, they have access to those records. And in some markets, the attorneys do not have access to the records directly. They physically have to send somebody down to the clerk's office or whatever to do the research. But what I suspect happened, Gil, is that the investor opened up an escrow or a closing and gave all the paperwork to the attorney, but a wholesaler that had the property tied up but did not collect any earnest money from an unknown cash buyer or rehabber. If I don't know somebody in town, if they want the deal, they sign the assignment fee and they stroke me an earnest money check that's not refundable if they don't perform. And I don't take the money myself. I put that money in the trust account with the attorney or title company. And, and that's the money that's used to cover expenses of that title company or attorney, so I'm not on the hook for that. Also, what it does is it locks in that cash investor or rehabber, and it shows you that they're sincere about, making that purchase, and they're not going to bail out at the last minute. Unless there's something that was misrepresented, that's different. But assuming that everything was as represented and they just decided that they didn't want to buy the property because maybe they felt like they find a better deal, so they left you holding the bag, and now you're going to end up paying the expenses of that attorney or title company of, realistic services that they provided. So you got to cover yourself on that kind of situation when you're dealing with people that you don't know. Now, there's cash investors that I do business with in town. When I shake their hand and they shake mine and they tell me that they're in on the deal at this number, as long as nothing was misrepresented, I never have those guys back out no matter what. Even if it turns out after they inspect maybe it wasn't the best deal that they thought, they still won't back out because they're thinking long term. If they back out of this deal, they're probably never going to get another one, and the next one might be hit it out of the park, home run type of deal. So, and that's kind of the way we work here with my cash buyers, if they take a marginal deal, for instance, they'll be the first one on the list to get the killer deal the next time I got one tied up. So that's kind of the way it works, and that's the way I work with my guys, and you need to do the same. Back to you, Gil.
Yeah, also a couple of things, to add to that. I mean, when you're looking at vendors, shop around, right? Ask them what the rates will be. Let them know you're looking to do multiple deals, or you're looking to scale the business up, or you do offer repeat business. It's okay to let them know that this is a new territory you're looking to get into, right? So you need to, test the waters a little bit so you can figure out your sweet spots in terms of marketing. And you want to be able to find and get to that sweet spot, right? So you do need to send some marketing, go through some deals, and not necessarily commit to a vendor that would, gobble up your entire business and marketing capital, right? Because if that's what ends up happening, then that's no good, right? And also, if you are going to, relates to partnerships, joint ventures, anybody you're consulting with, find out what the splits are going to look like, right? And offer to do more if you can, if you want more of the deal. If you aren't, again, but if you're not going to do much, if all you're going to do is send a name and a number, then it's really going to be hard to justify why you should make 50% of the deal, right? And I see that with new people, and I even see that with wholesalers that are clearing six figures. Either they don't have their marbles in their head right, or that is the standard that they've set for themselves, right? They want majority of the deal. They've come up with an arbitrary number, and that's what it's worth. Take it or leave it, right? But you have an option. You don't have to take it. You can leave it, right? And move on to somebody else that would allow you to move that particular lead and deal forward and build a good business relationship with. Again, it also comes down to setting the right expectations so that you know what services they're going to deliver for you. Bill mentioned some key things on there. In some markets and territories, it's not as simple as an online search. They got to go down to the local county offices, pull records, and there's some physical labor involved and some travel times there, right? So it is worth taking a look at. For all we know, in this particular market or territory, the going rate might very well be $1,000, and this guy got it for $309, so he's getting a steal, right? And so I would look into it a little bit more. You mentioned a nice little anecdote on there, how your wife said, "I told you so." It definitely helps if your spouse is on board. Sometimes you have to do business discreetly, not because you're trying to hide anything, but you want to protect that little, business venture, or, keep the morale high, right? You don't need any dream killers in your life. And some people, we had a workshop that I had attended recently, about 2 weeks ago, and their family was very hesitant about them going into entrepreneurship and starting a real estate wholesaling operation. And it's not because they don't believe in real estate, they don't think money can be made, but the truth of the matter, the heart, all right, the objection, its true source came from, they were very worried that their daughter would not make it and would fail. So they were, it stemmed more from their personal worries, and they just didn't want to see their little baby get hurt, right? Let's put it that way. So don't take it personally. It helps if your family and spouse is on board. They may not be at first. Just make the adjustments and, keep on trucking and moving forward. I always like to keep my goals in front of me to keep me reminded of what this is all for, especially when it comes to those tough and challenging times, right? Miss Liz, I typed it in the chat line. Steve, I sent her contact info. I'm going to unmute you. You might have had a question.
Oh yeah, so I said we got this property under contract on Sunday, and so we think we sold it while we were on the call here. So we're like, oh, we gotta go look at it, right? So it turns out the seller is all the way on the other across the country, bought it in a bulk package, and has no idea how to get in. So kind of curious if anybody's got any tips on how do we access the property without knowing what's going on, If there is a lockbox, we're not going to know the code. If there's a lock, we're not going to have the key, right?
So they want to take a look at the properties in the package?
No, we bought this from this guy who's never seen the property.
Oh, okay. So it's like...
Right, so he bought it, he's been sitting on it. So that's why we were able to get it at the price we want, but he's never seen it. So the seller doesn't know how to access it either.
I would get something in writing from the seller that shows proof that he does own the property, somehow, whether officially or discreetly, try to get some sort of...
we looked it up on title to get we have a purchase contract with the guy.
No, what I'm saying is, how do you know this guy really owns it? Because we just talked to a homeowner recently.
Really?
I mean, they might not be the actual owners, there's that possible scenario.
It's his company, it's like an LLC. That owns it.
Sure. I would need to see proof that they actually owned it. Some, right? I would start the ball rolling on to answer the question, do these guys really own this piece of real estate? Okay? While we try to get that document, do a drive-by, get the acquisition manager out there. I've heard of other investors that will find an open door somewhere around the property, or even beforehand, if they can't produce the official company docs and proof that they own it, get a document from the seller or the person that claims they are the seller that they're giving permission to walk and view the property, right? Email, a signed letter, just something to protect the person going out to the property to show we did get permission from a person that is a verified owner or claim they're the owner to go look at the property. I think, who was it? It was Broker Julio that shared this story over the weekend where they were looking at a property. An agent claimed to be renting the house or to be showing it for them. Turns out they weren't really the agent. They signed all the leases and everything, making it seem official. And it turns out they were never the agent in the first place. But I would do those two things. Verify, that they are the owners and get somebody out there.
How would we do that?
You would ask the seller...
Beyond what we normally do.
I would get a letter from the seller saying, hey, can we, I'm giving you guys permission to go look at the property, an email, right? And then, or a signed document. You can just draft one saying, I'm giving you permission to go look at the property. If it's owned under an LLC, then they should have some company docs, showing that LLC is owned by, John Doe, right? Something to connect them and show proof. Because all you guys have is just he said, she said, and we can move on a hunch, but if you can verify that information while you move on the hunch, I think it would be a little bit better for all the people that's involved on that deal.
All right.
Last question we'll cover on the session. Need some advice? Have a tricky situation in front of me. Kind of relates to the tenant situation that we came across earlier on the whole eviction process. Let's see on here. Just make this font smaller, and then we will jump out of our session here. I need some advice. Have a tricky situation in front of me. I have a cash buyer that is looking for a house. I found him a house that fits his criteria. However, the property is not vacant. I've talked to the owner of the house about 2 months ago, and he wanted to sell, but we were a little off on the numbers. My question is, how do I get my end buyer to check out the house without talking to the current owner? You can have them sign non-compete, non-disclosure agreements, right? And we had somebody ask that question too. We have a buyer who's co-wholesaling through another wholesaler. They're doing repeat business, but we want to continue getting paid. Well, if you're maintaining that relationship, yes, you're bringing value. If all you did was make an introduction, then what do you bring to the table on those future deals to allow and get them to continue paying you, or have that wholesaler, cut you a check, right? So just answer that question. And I don't know if you get if you have somebody that will agree to pay you for life on a simple introduction, great, But at the end of the day, there's got to be some value you bring to the table there. On this particular scenario, do you have the property under contract? If you don't, then I would suggest getting it under contract first, getting a tentative letter of intent signed, or a marketing agreement. That way you have some documentation. After all, you're dealing with a new cash buyer here, so you don't even know if they're going to perform, whether or not they respect the relationships and the work that you've put in on the front end. Cash buyers that have been in the industry for quite some time, chances are they started as a wholesaler. They appreciate the work that wholesalers, property scouts, and bird dogs do. You don't have to explain to them why you're making a wholesale fee or why you are accepting or making X dollars on that particular deal. So there's a lot of moving parts to this. I would make sure it's under contract. I would make sure there's some documentation, signed with the seller prior to getting this buyer out there. I would show the property myself, or get somebody from my office or my team or an agent that we're working with to coordinate the showings. And sometimes it's not even so much of you don't want the seller to talk to the buyer because they're going to cut you out. You don't want the seller to give wrong information about the deal, or not properly educate the cash buyer, right? Or maybe you want to do some extra due diligence. Like with my buyers, we order a lot of detailed reports when it comes to any of the rehab deals we're going into. And so seller tells us the house is great, that's all fine and dandy, but we still run all of our reports, right? So we don't want the homeowner to think that he has a perfectly good house, sell my buyer on a perfectly good house, but not realize that his foundation, or he has a termite infestation simply because he forgot to run or do any inspections or maintenance for the last 50 years on the house. It happens, right? And so we've had buyers come to where they were misled by the seller or by the other agent involved, and that was never their intention. It's just when we took a closer look at the deal, new information was found during the due diligence period, all right? And that calls for price adjustments. So we don't want the seller or the buyer to get pissed off, go storming out, right? Because we can still get a price reduction on it, and the numbers would still work, right? So that's those are a couple ways that we would handle this particular situation. It doesn't sound like you have anything going with the seller at this. Maybe it's just the way you worded it, but I would make sure you do have something going with the seller. Something more than I just talked to them 2 months ago. We're off on the numbers when that was like a 10-minute conversation, right? But yeah, if it's looking good, then I would coordinate the showing myself or get somebody that we trusted and worked with. Check on title on the property. Many buyers buy a property by auction and they bought the second by mistake and now they have to break in and occupy. Awesome. Not exactly, yeah. Ownership, right? That's another thing though, Steve. When it comes to getting a locksmith to come out, right? That Palmdale Lancaster we did, almost a year ago, those were deals where we had to call a locksmith company. I had to show them a letter from the homeowner. I had to show them the title or a title report showing the homeowner, the name, and that it matched with the letter from the homeowner so that we can establish ownership. We had to get that letter notarized and signed as well. So just having something, even in a letter, right, signed off, or an not even an email. You want something, really signed off. But if the best you can do is an email, it's something. Something's better than nothing at the end of the day until you can get more legit docs or verification, right? Just put yourself in the shoes of the person going out there. For anybody in a similar situation, right? If the cops show up, right, or the neighbors call in and, what are you doing here? Oh, I'm here to, just check out the property, but it looks like you're casing the joint. But if you had some documentation, then it tends to put the neighborhood at ease and you avoid a whole lot of headaches in a sticky situation. Looks like Miss Liz had texted you or left you a message there. Bill has a comment on your deal, and we'll hold out the session here if there's any other questions, feedback, or clarifications. Replays have been uploaded to the session, guys, so go ahead and do check that out. By the way, we had a really good question yesterday come from from our new subscribers. The GoToWebinar system sends you an email notification 1 hour before the webinar starts. It's a reminder email, okay? And so if you try to log in immediately after you get that notification, it will say waiting for organizer or waiting for the webinar to start, right? Because it's a 1 hour reminder, but most people think, oh, webinar's already started. They click and they think they're in the wrong room. So just a heads up there for you, your teams, your property scouts, anybody trying to log on the session, give them that heads up and notification. The system sends automated email reminders to help you guys out, but once you register, save that link in your Google Calendar, in your Outlook calendar, in your Yahoo, save it somewhere and just click on that link at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to join the session at the right time. Bill, we'll close out the session. Any other tips you can give there? Steve's doing these deals virtually. You know what I mean? So a little bit differently from how most boots on the ground would handle it. But other things to prepare or take into account there.
Yeah, getting back to Steve's issue about the title, everything you said was right on. A couple other things, especially when you're dealing virtually, is number one, if it's an LLC, a legitimate LLC, they would have filed with the Secretary of State of that state. And nearly every Secretary of State that I'm aware of has a public website, and you can go to that website and verify the name of a particular corporation or LLC. And you put it in the name search, and it will bring up and generally will show you the name of the organizer and the name of the managers or members or managing them. So you can get that information, and then you can match it up with the people that you're talking to. So, you want the person you're talking to, you want them to send you, a minimum an email authorizing you to go to the property, better a letter and better a notarized letter. But, that's how you can cross-check stuff, and if things start to not match up, immediately that's a major red flag. And that, maybe you're not dealing with somebody that's ethical here, or maybe you're dealing with somebody, an acquisition manager in the office that's not on title, but they're authorized. So you want to get permission from them, in some way, as Gil suggested. So, but that's, anytime you're dealing with corporations or LLC, they got to be recorded somewhere, and generally the Secretary of State's website will provide you that information. And if you keep clicking eventually you'll get to the actual papers that they file with the state, and it'll have signatures, and it'll also have names and everything on there. And that's a way to verify without spending a bunch of time or money. And then finally, as far as to how to protect your fee, well, first of all, if you're licensed, you can get the seller to sign a one-party show, which means that they'll, as you a realtor, they'll pay you 3% fee to show it to this buyer, and if the buyer buys it, they'll pay a fee. If you're non-licensed and you're an investor, then you want to get a letter of intent that's not just an open letter of intent, but you want to get one that's binding. So you want to, if you're going to do a letter of intent and you're trying to protect your fee, then you better make it a binding letter of intent where it obligates that seller to do X, Y, and Z if you're going to show a cash buyer, and that way they don't try to go around you. But obviously the easiest way is to go ahead and just get yourself a sales and purchase agreement signed by the seller, outlining all the terms and conditions, with a clause in there that says this offer is subject to inspection and approval of the buyer's partner or the buyer's investor buyer, whatever way you want to state it, within 10 days of seller's acceptance of the agreement. That way you got a locked in deal there, and the likelihood is that, they won't try to go around you. And the other thing is, don't show the property to people that you haven't pre-screened a little bit. Talk to the cash buyer or rehabber, find out who they are, what deals they've done, et cetera, et cetera. Get to know them a little bit and establish some rapport. And then if you have any inkling at all that they may be the kind of person that would go around you, and you say, and tell them the story. I had somebody about 2 years ago that tried to go around my back and do business directly with the seller. You know what? They're no longer in business, because I got on the phone and I told everybody that I know in town not to do business with this cash buyer or this rehabber, because they're going to try to go around you and cut a better deal directly with the seller and cut you out of the deal. Now, I know you would never do something like that, Steve, but I just wanted to tell that story so that, that never happens to you.
That's a
message
nice
thing.
I love that one, right? It's like you just did like a jab to the face there without it, being in your face, so in your face about it. Other fun ways to put that. I've had sessions where we've just focused on this one objection, right? You can let them know, oh, okay, so you're relatively new to buying investment properties or cash deals. Never worked with a wholesaler before. Oh, okay. Do you have any title or escrow companies lined up? Because these cash deals can be a little bit tricky. You want to make sure, the right due diligence is involved. You ever done any of that? Oh, no. Never. Oh, okay. You don't have any relationships in the industry? No. Just remind them the situation that they're in, right? And that kind of stuff will come out in the conversation. Once you get the heebie-jeebies, or you get a funky vibe for this person. I don't know. I don't know if you're the right buyer for this one, Mr. Miss Seller, right? There's different ways to structure it, or say that, right? But use that to your advantage. Whatever applies to you on there, you can say very well that, my buddy Gil talked about this wholesaler or this cash buyer that tried to go around them directly. Turns out they never even bought the homeowner was not the homeowner, right? Or that person's no longer in business. We're looking for a long-term repeat relationship here, and trust but verify. At the end of the day, trust but verify. Kelvin here has a nice little suggestion for you. If you cannot establish, and I'll just throw this and add it on there, right? If you guys are going to end up closing on that deal, somebody's going to have to produce docs anyway, right? Or establish proof of ownership, and that's exactly what title and escrow is going to require. So instead of spending the next week trying to get a home showing, walk the property, do all that, and then the following week, request for the paperwork. If it turns out it's a dud, or this person doesn't have the right documentation, I just wasted a whole week. You can start both activities at the same time, since they're going to run parallel to each other. Homeowner's going to try to dig up their paperwork. you start looking into the property a little bit more. You can get it all done within the same week or the same time frame and find out sooner than later if this is looking like something you can close on because the seller's legit. You know what I mean? There's no problems or concerns with it. It's just a matter of where we dig up these ancient documents and the paperwork, and that can be done, right? But if you quickly determine that, you know what, this deal is way more complex, or this person is not who they say they are, and there's a whole lot more going on here, because you might have a family member who's trying to sell the property from beneath everybody else, and again, you don't want that on your hands. To find that you've put all this amount of work on the front end only for it to end up resulting that way, right? Kelvin's suggestion here is the owners can call a local locksmith company, pay for it, and all you have to do is show up on site with the locksmith, and they'll open it up for you, right? So that's another great way to try to get it done. And again, let the homeowner or let their party handle it. If they are too busy or cannot do it for whatever reason, you might want to offer doing it on their behalf or having them sign these documents in order to get it done. And with the locksmith, you will still need a notarized document from the homeowner, especially since they're going to be opening up a property on there. Proceed with caution if there is a tenant, if there's somebody living in the property, right? So they didn't put there, what the, oh yeah, they did say it was, there was a tenant in there. If there is, then you definitely have to, again, at least give notice to the tenants. Awesome session here today, guys. We had covered quite a few things. Let me just do a quick recap. Replays have been updated. All the notes are on there for you guys as well, right? Bill talked about his session yesterday with one of our investors, just got started out. They called 10 homeowners, pulled 3 good leads from it, and already some docs going out for signing and proposals, which is awesome. That's more docs and proposals than what most people in real estate getting started will ever come across or see. So great feedback there. Good job to the investor that is working their leads there in that program. We talked about homeowners or wholesalers losing out on deals because they're not working fast enough or moving in a timely manner. That's why we apply a 12 to 24-hour window when it comes to following up on our leads, especially during these times. Market is changing a little bit, and even if the market is not changing extensively in your area, there is just a lot of marketing going on from realtors, brokers, investors, and so it creates this type of frenzy or vibe that the market is turning, right? Someone I claimed objections and how you can address getting more owner financing deals. How do we get a squatter out of a house? Dealing with vendors, right? Having to pay for deals that maybe did not go through or unlikely to go through. So a better way to handle that situation, and also dealing with showing properties with tenants in place, or trying to get access to a property when the homeowner is based in another territory, right? So how to handle that virtually. That was Steve's angle there to it. So thanks for jumping on the session, guys. I do have some thank yous here for the group. And one of them is a new subscriber. Let me just pull them on here. I get the notifications whenever somebody joins our list or signs up for the webinars and trainings. And caught my attention because I think this person signed up at like 3 a.m. And so they are definitely, 1:42 a.m., not 3 a.m., 1:42 a.m. Jay, thank you for joining us here on the sessions, and hope you enjoy the content. Send us some feedback, questions, clarifications. If you're catching our videos on YouTube, hit the like, leave us some comments. That definitely helps us with our content and allows us to keep doing what we're doing here live on these sessions. Use Podio and you won't lose them. Yes, with your CRM, that is correct. At least you have a good tracker. Not yet, Kelvin, not yet. We have until tomorrow to get all the info out. Alrighty. Bill here, at the end of the day, right, especially with your cash buyers, it's okay. If they're not the right buyer for the deal, do not sell it to them. If it's a full gut rehab and you are dealing with an entry level, if it's a full gut rehab and you have a landlord, doesn't fit. right? If you have a landlord-based deal, you're a landlord buyer, it looks good, right? But you don't want to stick a newbie cash buyer investor into a full gut rehab. That just spells disaster over it. You do a Google search, and you will find these cash buyers, and we do send out cash buyer lists that you can do a simple Google search to find the phone numbers. So thanks everyone for jumping on this session. We will not have a 9 a.m. session tomorrow. No 9 a.m. session tomorrow. I want to let everybody know we're going to update the schedule. No 9 a.m. session, only for tomorrow. On Thursday, we're going to have Henry Serrano jump on board, talk a little bit about land leads, land deals. He does land deals virtually nationwide. Some of you guys are hitting land leads and deals not knowing what to do with them. So Henry wants to jump on board and give you guys some feedback, questions you can ask, because you may have a deal on your hands that you can monetize, and he can help you structure those deals, or give you enough feedback to rework your leads, right? Maybe that might be the lead that you need to break even on your marketing campaign, or to get your first deal done, right? So thanks for jumping on, everybody. My name is Gil on behalf of Bill, Steve, Henry, Chris, and all the contributors we have for the 9 a.m. sessions, especially the Robert Sheeman group. Thanks for hanging out with us. We'll see you on the next session on Thursday. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.